Sometimes I think we take for granted what we have, and we just think there's some like natural law that deigns that this will all continue. I don't think that's necessarily the case. That doesn't mean that we're hurtling towards some dystopian future, but it does mean that it's up to us. Team humanity means we have to play our part. I do not believe that we're necessarily hurtling toward, the matrix, but I do think that it's incumbent upon us to step up the way our forefathers stepped up, the way they stepped up and created what we know as the American Revolution. And after the Civil War, we built this country. The way they stepped up and think about the New Deal, created all these institutions that we take for granted today. And I think Americans are born with this sort of pioneering spirit to make this moment work. We don't just need to wrap our brains around how AI works. We need to open our hearts to understand what it means to actually be at a point where you talked about AI as flattening things. It's the humanity flattener too. And what does it look like when we can get past these silly tribal ideas and see ourselves really as all created in the image of God?
Welcome back, everybody, to the Love Conquers Fear podcast. I am in New York City now. You saw in the last episode, I was in D.C. with Brian Marescu, the author of The Immortality Key. And I was just about to go into the AIPAC Congressional Summit, which was a fantastic event. Lot of unity, no matter what you have read or heard. It is very bipartisan. They actually had a track this year where you could go either the Republican track or the Democrat track, and it was around a 50-50 split. I think that's important to emphasize because there's a lot of disinformation and misinformation out there, and we're going to dig into that with today's guest. And the reason I mention it is that show me something else that's that bipartisan, where you have nearly a 50-50 split of who's attending. As I mentioned many times, I am an independent. There was a lot of celebration at AIPAC on the hostages being back and all of the wins for really trying to help stabilize that region. It looks like it's possible for Iran to tip, which would be incredible. One of the things you don't hear really hardly anybody talking about today is there's been over 10,000 people executed in Iran to try to, fight the uprising of the populace who just wants freedom. Love conquers fear is what this podcast is all about in the book that I'm writing. And it really matters what happens in that region. That region is a defining region for freedom, for love really conquering fear. And it's one of the oldest spiritual regions in the entire world. A lot of the biggest religions came out of the Middle East. So I'm very proud to be involved in AIPAC and go to that event every year. I've been donating for I think around 14 years now. Also, I've been digging into Michael Pollan's new book, A World of Peers. Just came out on February 24th. I'm actually recording this the day after, and I'm already a fourth through the book. It is a good book for sure. Michael Pollan, famously wrote How to Change Your Mind. His documentary of that name is a fantastic one. This is a really deep dive scientifically into the nature of consciousness, and I've found it pretty fascinating so far. This is a really anticipated book. When he starts talking about plant-based consciousness and the evidence for that, it's a pretty big mind bender how you can use time lapse to really speed up the way plants move, and they're exhibiting a form of intelligence. And, there's always been a discussion and debate since the beginning of humanity on what is the nature of our reality and how far does sentience actually extend in the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, et cetera. So it's pretty fun. I would encourage you to pick it up. And I've been anticipating this one, so I'm going to rip through it probably in the next couple of days. Maybe by the time I record my next guest, I'll have finished the book. So I'm really, really excited today to have a guest on that is also a Henry Crown Fellow. He's the CEO of the ADL, an organization we've been supporting for well over a decade, very proudly. And I welcome Jonathan Greenblatt.
Thank you for having me, Brett.
Yeah, so good to have you here, brother.
It is really a treat to be here, and I'm super excited to be on the podcast. And I'm excited about Michael Pollan's new book.
Yeah.
His book, The Omnivore's Dilemma, I must have read it like a decade ago or
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, it's at least that old. Yeah.
And it was just a wonderful, wonderful, thoughtful like exposition
Yeah.
on food and our relationship to food and our relationship, to like flora and fauna. And so it sounds like this new book kind of builds on some of those ideas.
It builds on it big time.
I can't wait to read it.
And this is kind of the big subject right now. Like in 2025, you had Dan Brown come out with The Secret of Secrets. That was all about the nature of consciousness. Great, great novel. I finished that at the end of the year. Annika Harris, who's married to Sam Harris, as you know, came out with Lights On, which was a real exploration in consciousness. And then the Telepathy Tapes came out with season 2. That podcast at one point was more popular than Joe Rogan's podcast.
I've never listened to it before.
Well, season 2 is amazing because season 2 goes step by step through consciousness and everything from the plant kingdom to the animal kingdom. It's fascinating. It's
All
really
right,
fascinating.
I'll take
It's a
the
good one.
recommendation.
Yeah, it's a good one. Very highly produced, and they've announced that it's now being turned into a Netflix documentary.
Wow.
And I imagine that's going to happen with A World Appears by
Wow.
Michael Pollan,
Very
just like
cool.
it happened with How to Change Your Mind, which is fantastic.
Super neat.
Yeah. So I am very proud to call you a friend and
Same.
really appreciate all of your leading in the arena. I mean, it's been a big arena since October 7th, 2023.
Yeah.
And I think that you were in Austin a week or two after you got the job.
Yeah, shortly after.
And so maybe we just start there with why this job as the CEO of the ADL? Why is this your soul song, I'll say?
Well, it's a good question. It's an interesting role. So for your listeners who might not be familiar, the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, it's the oldest anti-hate organization in the country. It was founded in 1913 around the lynching of a Jewish man.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back 113 some odd years, essentially Jews in America in that time lived with what we would probably call today systemic discrimination. Couldn't work many professions. You could legally not sell your house to a Jew. You could legally choose not to employ someone who's Jewish, again, on the basis of their identity. They were kept out of many universities, or their numbers were kept low through quotas. They couldn't get health care or medical treatment at most facilities. That's why in many cities, like here in New York City where we're taping this, Mount Sinai Hospital was founded in the mid-1800s. They called it the Jews' Hospital because Jews couldn't get medical treatment at the other hospitals. They were all religiously affiliated. Anyways, in that environment, and there was lots of slander and scapegoating. In that environment, this guy, Leo Frank, he goes from New York down to Atlanta to manage a family business. Make a long story short, he is falsely accused of a crime. He is then wrongfully convicted, and he's sentenced to death. The governor intervenes because he didn't have due process, and there was exculpatory evidence, and reduces the sentence to life imprisonment. The mob is so enraged by that act of leniency, they break into the jail and they tear him from his cell and they hang Leo Frank from a tree. And while the body's still hanging from the rope, the whole town gathers around, like all the town leaders, and they take photographs to celebrate the lynching of Leo Frank. They set up like a barbecue underneath, and they keep the body there all day, and they make it a special occasion. At the end of the day, they take down the body and they take the rope and they chop it up into pieces and they give it away as mementos to honor the lynching of Leo Frank. So it's in that environment when ADL is created. And essentially the people who created the organization saw a need to fill a gap because there was no one to protect the Jewish people. And, the NAACP had been created a few years earlier, but there was no group in America to protect this beleaguered, targeted, victimized minority. And so when they founded the ADL with this core purpose, protect the Jewish people, they wrote a mission statement that we still use today, word for word. They wrote that it will, quote, stop the defamation of the Jewish people and secure justice and fair treatment to all. So what's interesting about that is it made sense, stop the defamation of the Jewish people. Again, that was their purpose, protect the Jews.
Right.
But they said, and justice and fair treatment to all.
Right.
Which at the time when Jews didn't have many basic rights, were really endangered, were really kind of a marginal community. The idea that they would fight for other people was an audacious, kind of outlandish idea. I mean, they didn't have a leg to stand on themselves. But in the ensuing years, ADL was the organization that indeed helped to change the laws, break the quotas, expose discrimination in the 10s and 20s and 30s and 40s, 50s. ADL made America safer for its Jews. And then starting in the 40s, at the end of the Second World War, ADL committed itself to fighting for equality for Black Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 1950s, ADL fought Joe McCarthy in the red baiting.
Right.
ADL then fought for immigration reform. In the 1950s, like long before it was fashionable, ADL, my predecessor, literally stood at the Lincoln Memorial in August 1963 when Dr. King gave his very famous I Have a Dream speech. Because Ben Epstein, who head of the organization, became very close to Dr. King because they were fighting for civil rights together.
Right.
ADL was at the forefront of so many of these key movements in what we now consider like our civil rights history. And today, like at this time, for someone like me, who came to this job without any nonprofit experience, without any ostensible civil rights experience. I mean, I'm a Jewish person, but I'd never worked in the Jewish community before. Most of my life was in business, building brands.
Yeah, you were a great entrepreneur.
Well, that's nice of you to say. Yeah, I had some experiences there. So this was a really big leap. But, you know, it feels like a privilege. It feels like a privilege to be part of an organization with such a like august history, and that's played such an important role in so many moments in the 20th century.
Yeah, it's amazing. I don't know if you know this, but you inspired me after October 7th. One of my friends who actually grew up with my dad, he was young, and my dad kind of took him under his wing as a son, Black American. He leads one of the most important nonprofits in Austin.
Oh, really?
For Black Americans. And he invited me to keynote their gala. There are over 1,000 people there.
Wow.
I think it was 90% Black American audience. And it was following October 7th, and I was really channeling you, and
oh, wow.
you know, you being in the arena, and it was a really important speech, and I made that point that from the very beginning, ADL encompassed all people that were discriminated.
Oh wow, that's super
against.
nice.
And
I don't think I know this story.
Yeah. I've got a video of it.
I want to see it. You need to send me the link.
Yeah.
I mean, you do think about it. Like I think today, you know, notions of intersectionality and social justice, et cetera, like we almost take it for granted. But the idea over 100 years ago of standing up like for other people, this was not typical.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you something. I have at the offices of ADL at our headquarters up the road here in Manhattan, an ad campaign that ADL did in the late 1940s, pushing for racial equality. And they have these, they're like these ads, they were like in magazines like Life magazine and such, and they were also billboards. And it's got like white kids and Black kids playing sports together. Like in the 1940s, this was unheard of.
All right.
I have a super cool ad in our office that ADL did in 1950. This is long before, you know, Marvel movies, long before all the kind of endorsement culture we live with now. It was Superman. They worked with the antecedent to DC Comics, so this ad of Superman talking about the need for racial and like ethnic equality. And it's a picture of Superman with a white kid, a Black kid, a white girl, an Asian American young person. Like this was unheard of in 1950.
Right.
ADL was like, look, I was born decades later. We both were.
Yeah.
This is way before our time, so to speak. But you just realize, like we stand on the shoulders of these people who took risks and were bold thinkers long before it was easy to do or it was sort of in vogue.
You know, do you think about that Steve Jobs commencement speech at Stanford, like the dots connect in reverse, and think about how the dots connected with you in terms of your upbringing, your entrepreneurial career, you know, the success you had there, and how it's factored into this moment?
I think about it a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, my grandfather was a Holocaust survivor from Germany. And he wouldn't talk about it in any meaningful way. But one time I was doing a project for school, like I was a junior, I think, in high school, and I had a little tape recorder, and I said, I want to tape you, and he was willing to do it, and I recorded him. And he basically opened up. And without going into all the details, he basically said, you know, when I was a young man, I thought Germany was the greatest country in the world because it was. And then, of course, everything fell apart. And he was grateful to be in the United States, for sure, but he lost everything. Lost all his family.
Right.
Came to this country, he didn't speak English. He didn't have any money. He didn't have any connections. And he was able to carve out like a reasonable middle-class life in Bridgeport, Connecticut. This is where basically I'm from. And, you know, I tell you something, when I was very young, probably like 7 or 8 or so, he took me more than once to these marches that we had. They had in Bridgeport to free the Soviet Jews. This was a thing at the time. Like these Jewish people were stuck behind the Iron Curtain. The Soviet Union wasn't letting them emigrate, but they weren't letting them worship or work. It was like a very bad situation. Anyways, I went to a few of these like marches of sorts. What's interesting is a couple of years later, they were freed. Like there was this Jackson-Vanik Amendment and these things happened. Bottom line is that they came out. And I do remember being struck, Brett, by this idea that I could be part of something bigger than me.
Yeah.
Like it was a moment where I sort of connected some dots, to kind of paraphrase Jobs, and thought, I didn't hear. And then later on in my life, when I graduated from college, or when I was getting ready to graduate, this is the spring of '92, it was during a presidential cycle. Now, my parents were totally apolitical. They're blue collar, they didn't go to college. Their focus was on working,
Right.
you know? My dad was a salesman, my mom was a secretary. So not political at all. Nor was I, ostensibly. But I was talking to people in Boston. My classmates, my fraternity brothers, they were all going to consulting or investment banking or some going to law school. I didn't want to do any of those things. I wanted to change the world.
Right.
I wanted to be part of something bigger than me.
Yeah.
And someone suggested I get involved in the Clinton for President campaign.
Okay.
So I was like, well, how do you do that? I said, well, there's an office in downtown Boston.
Right.
So I showed up and I started volunteering. And like once a week, and I don't want to exaggerate what I was doing, but I ended up, after I graduated college, moving down to Little Rock, Arkansas to go work for Governor Clinton. And to be honest with you, I certainly didn't know he was going to win. I would like to say now, in a sort of revisionist way, that I was very confident, but I don't think I was.
Right.
But I thought I wanted to fight the good fight. I wanted to change the world. And so I moved to Little Rock and I worked for the governor, and it was an amazing experience. And I spent the summer there and the fall, and then guess what? He won.
Yeah.
And so that moment, like something clicked for me, as had happened when I was a little kid. And it sort of affirmed this idea that I had that I could change the world.
Right.
I can be part of something bigger than myself. And so I would say that if you were to ask me, again, in a Steve Jobs kind of like, what were those dots?
Yeah.
And how do I make my dent in the universe?
Yeah.
Like those were the moments that connected it for me. And I think that moment of moving to Little Rock literally put me on the trajectory that I'm still on now.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always made my career decisions not on the basis of how do I make the most money. I'd definitely not that. But like, how could I make a dent in the universe? How could I change the world?
And moving from this area, the Northeast, which is very heavily populated, to Little Rock too, must have felt pretty humble
crazy.
at the time too.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents were very against me moving. It's kind of a funny story.
Yeah.
Sort of funny. So again, my parents, God bless them, they're the best, but they'd never really been anywhere, really lived anywhere other than Bridgeport and Trumbull, Connecticut. So when I told them I'm going to go to Little Rock, and I was the first in my family to graduate college, and I said, I'm going to move to Arkansas to go work for this governor from a state you've never been to, who's probably not going to win. My parents were like, oh, this is the worst idea we've ever heard. Yeah. How's that going to work? What are they going to pay you? How are you going to have health care? All these questions.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll wait tables. Because I waited tables all throughout college. It's like, I'll be a waiter and I'll figure it out. They ended up paying me on the campaign, albeit whatever, like $200 a week or something.
Right.
$300 a week. I mean, really, it was whatever. But anyways, so I did that, and my folks were very discouraging.
Yeah.
And every day they called me to tell me when I told them this was my plan, what a bad idea it was. They had my uncle who lived in Atlanta reach out and say, I've never even been to Arkansas, Jonathan. There are no Jewish people in Arkansas. you can't go to Arkansas, it's a bad idea. So they were telling me every day it was a bad idea, bad idea. I still went.
Yeah.
Again, they were just baffled and didn't understand it. And then I tell you, then he won.
Right. What did they think then?
Well, I tell you the story. I stayed in Little Rock through like up till Thanksgiving. So we had a lot of cleanup essentially. And then I came up, I think I drove up. I don't even remember, but I came home for Thanksgiving and my parents brought me into the living room in our house. So in our house in Trumbull, we had like a living room that we didn't use. You know what I mean? It was like the fancy room for guests.
Right.
Like when we would have Rosh Hashanah at our house or something, like people would use that room.
Just don't tell me it had the plastic on the couch.
It might. I didn't have plastic.
My parents had that.
It didn't have plastic on the couch.
I just never understood it.
But it's kind of like that room that you don't, the sofa you don't use.
Right.
We didn't use it. They brought me into that room. They sat me down on the sofa and they said on one end, I sat on the other end, and they said, "We will never give you career advice again."
Really?
They literally kind of said those words, and God bless them to that day.
Yeah.
Like when I told them I was moving to DC, I guess that made sense at the time because I was going to go work for the new administration.
Yeah.
And I told them I was leaving a job at the White House to go to business school. I'm sure in Chicago, I'm sure they didn't understand it, but they said, okay. And then when I told them I was graduating from business school and going to work for some startup they'd never heard of before in California, rather than going to McKinsey or going to Goldman Sachs. I'm sure they didn't understand that, but they just accepted it.
Right.
Then I told them I was leaving that job. We'd gone public. I was a VP. I did well to go start a bottled water company. I know they didn't understand it. They didn't say a word. When I told them after we sold the company.
Sold the company to Starbucks, right?
Yeah, sold the company to Starbucks.
Yeah, this is Ethos Water.
Ethos Water. And then I told them I was going to leave. I'm sure they were very confused. Why leave a big corporate job at Starbucks?
Right.
They didn't say anything. God bless them to this day. Like, my parents are great and have always supported me, even if they didn't always understand what I was doing.
What did they think about you taking this job?
I think they were very proud.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah, like, look, my parents were never involved in the ADL growing up, but we knew the organization. Like all Jewish families know the organization. Like the the ADL is, I think, one of the most venerated organizations in the whole community. So I think, look, in many ways, when I left the White House, because after I worked in the Clinton White House and the Obama White House, I think most people leave the White House and they go make money. Like if you're an academic, you might resume your career teaching. But a lot of people, especially in jobs like mine that are front-facing, that are working with corporations and working in capital markets, they go make money. I didn't do that. Like I went and took a nonprofit job. So that may have surprised them a little bit. It surprised a lot of my peers a lot. But I think they were proud. They were proud. I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, you think about all that's happened since you joined. I mean...
Yeah, it's been like a roller coaster.
Well, but in so many ways, like your background was kind of perfect for all that would come. Think about
That's nice of you to say.
all of the variety of kind of firefighting experiences you had. Just starting a company is not an easy,
definitely not
easy chore. Running political campaigns, not an easy chore.
Definitely
Being
not.
in the White House, not an easy chore.
Definitely not. Yeah, like. I've definitely had a lot of jobs that are not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
And like doing a startup, and I've done a few where you're worried about making payroll or like getting a customer, and that deal will make or break your business, or closing a round, and that will make or break your company. I've had those and so have you. Like you've had these experiences too.
Yeah, for
these
sure.
like white knuckle experiences, and it definitely toughens you up.
Yeah.
And so I guess in some ways with respect to this job, like I've definitely been on the edge myself, or skated close to the edge. And so the things that are happening here are not anything like I might have expected or seen before. On the other hand, like I'm very used to high stress environments.
Yeah.
I think the thing that's different is like, again, you're trying to make payroll, and so your employees are depending on you, and you have customers who are depending on you. That's a kind of pressure. And then you have investors that you feel really responsible to, because you are. This job is different because the issues that we're working with are kind of like life and death.
Right.
And so I think about the work we do monitoring extremists. I think about the work that we do where we identify threats and prevent people from like getting killed. And so while that's very exhilarating when you get it right, you worry about when you get it wrong.
Sure.
So it's definitely, and I talk to so many families, Brett, like dealing with horrible issues. So that's a different kind of stress. Different kind of stress.
So since October 7th, I know that you guys have been really front and center with lots of new initiatives, and you started the center, right? It's in California, right?
It's all kinds of stuff. I mean,
but that happened actually before October 7th.
Way before.
So that's good that you're kind of prepared for what's going to come with all the disinformation and everything else.
Yeah, so we have two things that are probably relevant on this. So number one, we had a team of researchers we've had and analysts for a long time who are like buried inside the organization. And a team, but not with a very tight, like coherent identity. And these people were researching extremism, monitoring it. And when I came on board in 2015, I thought, that team was a gem, a diamond in the rough, and we should really elevate them and give them their own identity and give them more resources. Because I felt like, and that turned out to be the right bet, that extremism would be increasing. And so that we kind of rebooted what we call the Center on Extremism. We could talk about that, how we've resourced it, and the work they're doing now is unbelievable.
Right.
And they work very tightly with this group we created in 2017, the Center on Technology and Society.
Right.
That was our office, as you're saying, in Silicon Valley.
Yep.
And I mean, again, I had worked, I ran a venture inside Google for 3.5 years. And I worked between Mountain View and LA or Santa Monica. And prior to that, when I was a realtor, I ran a business in San Francisco. So I have a background in software development. And I've run edge teams and understand that kind of life cycle of tech products, So for me, I felt like Facebook was the front line in fighting hate.
Right.
And we needed to mobilize. And we'd seen things, we launched it in 2017. We saw things in 2016 on the campaign. We saw how Twitter, as it was called at the time, was being exploited to like sort of weaponize anti-Semitism, to intimidate journalists and to intimidate Jewish people more broadly. And we saw how Facebook was becoming an organizing platform for extremists. They were using the Facebook Groups product.
Yep.
So we created that center. And by the way, I should say we created that center with seed capital from Craig Newmark. Most people, or many people know he started Craigslist. And Piero Midyar. Many people know he started eBay. Craig Newmark is Jewish. Piero Midyar is not Jewish. And Pierre is very liberal. Craig is kind of liberal-minded, but not, I wouldn't call him ideological at all. But he's very committed to issues of free speech. They both are, and free expression. So maybe they're both, Pierre's very progressive, maybe Craig's more libertarian. They both came together on this project, which I think says a lot about ADL and our positioning. Because ultimately, I try very hard, and we're very focused on not being partisan, but being principled. And focusing on the issues as they are and dealing with the challenges as they come, not because of someone's political affiliation, but because of what they might represent to Jewish people or other marginalized groups. And I think that resonated with both Pierre and Craig. And so they gave us some risk capital, and that helped us to create this center, which is now, I think, literally one of the centers of excellence in the country, focusing on these issues of online extremism and hate.
Yeah. And this AI moment, this is really the gist of what Love Conquers Fear is about, is that the way I look at it is God is working through us to accelerate our choice for, are we going to create abundance for all on the planet or not? And I'm 95% certain that we are when push comes to shove. But I'm curious how you view this AI moment, the exponential of exponentials. We've never prioritized anything like this in human history. I woke up this morning, one of the first things I read was Gartner is projecting that this year $2.4 trillion will be spent on AI investment.
Oh my gosh, really?
when Trump announced last year on January 21st, the Stargate project, that was $500 billion of funding alongside Mayo Susan, Sam Altman, Larry Ellison. That was already inflation adjusted more than we spent on the space race versus the Russians. Inflation adjusted.
Wow.
More inflation adjusted than we spent on the Manhattan Project to win World War II and liberate, Jewish people and end the Holocaust. And so for you guys, I'm curious how you view this moment. I know you've really been active with it and kind of what you're seeing in terms of a rise in things that you need to counter, but also all the beautiful ways that you can use this to really further the cause of ending hate.
I think this is the question of our time.
Mm-hmm.
So again, as I said a minute ago, when in 2016, I had this hypothesis that Facebook's the front line in fighting hate, and I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Flash forward, now ChatGPT is ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
Not for the fight against hate, but for the truth as we know it.
Right.
I mean, ChatGPT or Claude or whatnot, Gemini, Llama, these things are literally ground truth for millions of people.
Yep.
I mean, the adoption numbers are bananas.
Yes. Yep.
And so what's happening, what's so interesting is with social media, we talk about Web 1.0, Web 2.0, right?
Mm-hmm.
Web 1.0 was again, HTML and websites and whatever. You would go to the website to get what you wanted. Mm-hmm. You'd go to Google to search. And then Web 2.0 was the advent of Facebook and social. Yeah. And there you had the social graph and you're interacting with it. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think we call this Web 3.0. We don't have a word for this
we don't really have a
age
word
of
for
AI.
It. Yeah.
But the thing that makes it so different is Web 1.0 and Web 2.0 relied on you going and interacting.
Mm-hmm.
AI is going to invisibly shape, it is already happening. It's invisibly shaping the world around us.
Right.
And you kind of see it in the way the content's algorithmically generated, right, for you. But think about that on, I don't even know what the word is, not on steroids, on something else. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's rocket fuel, where the choices are going to be made for us invisibly, embedded in the systems around us. I tried to explain this, why we're so focused on AI right now. Mm-hmm. I was explaining to someone the other day, I think I was at the Munich Security Conference talking about this. It's kind of like electricity.
Yeah, it is like electricity. It affects every single industry.
So as we sit here today, you and me, we've got these microphones, we've got these lights, we're in a building with heat. Mm-hmm. I took the elevator to get here. Electricity is coursing all throughout our existence. It enables what we're doing right now.
Right.
In theory, we could talk without electricity, but then we'd be outside in the dark because it's in the evening at this point while we're recording without heat and it's freezing outside.
Yeah. And it won't be recorded either.
It couldn't be recorded. That's right.
I mean, maybe someone would be scribing it.
Perhaps. So we could have a conversation, but it would be very different than what electricity. So AI is the next level. And like electricity, it's not so easy to change. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is there's a breaker somewhere in this building, but I can't just change the voltage of electricity coursing through this room. Mm-hmm. And if I want to, I have to tear open all the walls and change the wires. And so we at ADL are focused right now on how these LLMs are performing and how their content is being optimized and delivered through these AI applications, because that wiring is being laid today.
Right.
It's the world is down to the studs.
Right.
And this is our chance to fix that wiring before the sheetrock goes up and the wallpaper goes on. And then it's just impossible. Again, it can be done, but it will be infinitely more complex.
Right.
And the electricity around us, again, you and I, are you an electrical engineer or a software engineer?
I've been programming since I was 7, always software. But I got my undergrad at UT Austin and then my MBA at Wharton. And in undergrad, I was actually an MIS major.
Oh, is that right?
The reason why is that when I went to school, the CS major, your big project was coding printer drivers. And a printer driver either works or it doesn't work. Nobody's going to thank you, Jonathan Greenblatt, for your printer driver.
Right.
And I'd already built a bulletin board system when I was 10, an internet game when I was 18. So I was used to people using the software and giving me feedback on it.
Right.
And that changed the course of my career because it really fused business with technology for me, which created a great platform to be an entrepreneur. But a lot of people think they would just assume I was a CS or engineering major. I wasn't.
For some reason, I thought you were an electrical engineer. I don't know why.
No.
But I tell you what, like, again, you're a technical guy. I'm not, but I understand a little bit about technology. But like, you and I couldn't like fix electricity in this place.
All right.
You know what I mean?
That I wouldn't know the first thing about.
Nor I. I can like install a light bulb or I can install a light fixture. I've done that.
Yeah.
But the point is that AI is going to be just like that. It's going to be all around us. It's going to shape the world as we exist in it. And we are going to be at a point pretty quickly where we're not going to understand really how it works.
Right.
So I deeply believe in, and why ADL is focused on trying to understand the models right now, trying to encourage the development of better business rules right now. So we have kind of guardrails that route this stuff effectively.
Yeah.
And like, look, the reason why the electricity works in this place, and there are outlets somewhere over here, and they're standardized.
Right.
Like there's a standards
That's right.
process. So that you can plug in and access the electricity with your phone charger or with your microphone or whatever. So we need similarly a kind of standards, maybe that's a crude analogy, but standards to be installed in the AI systems that are being built right now as we speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you're focused on that because it's really, it's an interesting time where basically all of humanity's content is getting flattened and, vectorized in these systems.
Yeah.
And the amazing thing about that is that, if you're a Douglas Adams fan, it's the Babelfish moment. Like we can totally chat with all of humanity's content, including the ancient spiritual text, no matter what language it was written in English. You can be in Japan and take a photo of some Zen Buddhist art piece and get a distillation on it that undoubtedly came from either Hindu or came from, Japanese.
Totally. Isn't it amazing?
And get the whole history on it in English.
My wife uses it this way. My wife is Iranian, and so she's deeply interested in antiques from like the Middle East and Central Asia and whatnot. So she in West Asia, and so she finds things at auctions. She uploads photographs to different AI engines to try to assess what the artifact is, like if there's a writing on it, what it says, because oftentimes it's in like a calligraphy, like a Arabic language calligraphy. It's not that easy to read. How authentic it is, all these crazy things that previously it's kind of like Antique Roadshow in your hand.
Yeah, it's amazing. In episode 10 with Morgan Linton, we were jamming on how people that have never used it before, because there are a lot of people that have never actually used it a lot. It's the majority, should even approach it. And he was telling the story of his dad, who is really into Japanese scrolls. And so just like taking it on for something like that's a hobby is great. And then that's the gateway to really use it for a lot more.
And I tell you, we are at ADL. I have roughly 500 full-time employees. I think all of my people need to learn AI. So we're thinking about like performance measures so that every individual has goals related to AI in the same way, like you can't, I remember, I guess I was in high school and I took a typing class, right? And it changed my life because it allowed me to interact with a keyboard, which may seem very mundane today, but the keyboard was, again, it was a typewriter, but it was novel.
Yeah.
And learning how to express your thoughts that way fundamentally enabled me to navigate an environment, a keyboard environment, if you will.
Yeah.
Again, I understand that it doesn't seem like such a great leap, but that class helped me to do so much. Yeah. So I think young people today, employees of all ages, like the dad of your friend, like need to understand how to learn these tools. Yeah. Like not learning how to use them is almost as a manager, not helping your people learn and integrate and empower themselves. It's almost irresponsible.
How do you think you guys will pioneer in this moment? I mean, I look at you as a very pioneering type of person.
Generous.
No, it's true. And how are you? What are you guys going to do differently, you think, than other nonprofits
so many
with
things. AI? I mean, I can tell you. So we think about AI in different ways. So number one, there's what I'll call analytic AI. So we've been tracking extremists at ADL since the 1930s, when we worked with the FBI to identify Nazi sympathizers in the U.S. And help them address that challenge. Because you had people, Americans, Germans who were living here in America, who were railing against FDR, very pro-Nazi, pushing America to align with Germany, very anti-Semitic, not so great. Anyways, the ADL helped the FBI deal with that threat in the 1930s. So that's almost 100 years ago. It's 90-some years ago.
Yeah.
So flash forward, we've been tracking right-wing extremist groups, white supremacists, sovereign citizens, those kinds of folks, like left-wing radicals, like hardened anti-Zionists and other kind of revolutionary ideology people, political Islamists, other kind of religious extremists for a long time. So today we continue to do that. And it's all like OSINT, right? It's all open source intelligence. We're not doing anything illegal at all, but we have so much data. So we use AI to help us navigate and make sense of information and kind of identify patterns. We've been doing that for a long time, although it's been amped up dramatically because the tools are so much better today. So on one level, we use a lot of analytic AI. Secondly, we're using generative AI. So it used to be when you had an anti-Semitic incident, you would write a letter to ADL or pick up the phone and call, and then you would do an email, and then you would fill an online form. Today, 75% of the inputs to us, the reports, are coming through a generative AI chatbot. And that chatbot is powered by our large language model. We basically took all of the incident data we've collected since the 1970s. Now let's acknowledge that the data is not all like normalized. So we got different kinds of data then than we have now. Nonetheless, like put it all together basically to create a model that's very smart and intelligent so that when someone goes in and says, this happened to me, it can evaluate in real time, okay, is this something that needs to be routed to law enforcement, like to 911, or can we process it? Is it real or not first? Okay, it's real. Therefore, it gets routed to 911 or not. Okay, this actually is a case of harassment or discrimination, like workplace discrimination. This could be a litigation opportunity. So, okay, so we route that to lawyers to evaluate its potential as a case they might want to take on. Or your child was bullied at school. Okay, and so you say, my name is Brett Hurt, and my kid goes to school at XYZ in Houston, Texas. I don't know if your listeners know where you live or anything.
Austin.
Okay, now they know. So, okay, Brett Hurt, my kid is Joe Smith, my kid is Bob Hurt at X school in Austin, Texas. And then the chatbot's smart enough, it could say, okay, well, your kid was bullied and he is a 9th grader at this school. Here's a letter you should send. Here's the name of the principal. Here's the name of the superintendent of schools. Here's the name of the chair of the board of education, their email addresses. You click here to send it. Here's a kind of content you could deliver to the school, like an education program or an education intervention opportunity. So I think something like 3/4 of our reports are coming in that way now. And so, look, when I started on the job, 2015, we had something like 2,800 reports come in. In the year 2020, I don't have the 2025 number off the top of my head, but in the year 2024, we had 31,000 reports.
Wow.
So how do you scale from investigating 2,800 reports to 31,000? AI.
Right.
So that's a powerful way that we're now being much more effective providing real-time support for victims. And then secondly, other generative AI apps. So a lot of what we do is not just trying to stop crimes before they happen, although we do that, and not just helping someone who experienced harassment or hate, although we do that. But I think at the end of the day, love only conquers fear if you change hearts and minds.
Right. That's right.
So we're very focused on education. We're very focused in classrooms. So we reach something like 4.5 million kids a year today with content in classrooms all over America. But we've just rolled out a new AI product. It's called Aura, O-R-A. Aura is the Hebrew word for light, as you might know. And what Aura allows you to do, it's a Gen AI app. So for a teacher could use it and say, I'm a teacher at Oak Middle School in Austin, Texas. I have a classroom of 8th graders, 30 students, no Jewish kids. Holocaust Day, Remembrance Day is coming up. Or or I want to do a lesson plan on the Holocaust, or learning about the genocide in Rwanda or something.
Right.
Give me a lesson plan that I can use with my students over the next month, over the next week. Give me a lecture for, a 60-minute class. Give me a discussion, etc. Give me slides, give me content, give me readings.
Yeah.
And Aura can generate all that in real time for the teacher.
That's awesome.
It's unbelievable. And again, that's drawing on another proprietary LLM we've built using the thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of content we've developed and written over decades on issues of teaching tolerance and kind of teaching respect in the classroom.
Yeah.
So that's a super cool product.
Yeah.
So now it's like a question about how do you distribute it effectively and how do you roll it out effectively. Luckily, we have networks, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of teachers who use our stuff. So I'm pretty optimistic about it, but that'll be a really cool tool that can create a customized lesson plan for you in the moment, teaching these issues of anti-Semitism or extremism, other forms of hate.
Yeah. That builds on the No Place for Hate too, right?
100%.
Yeah.
So No Place for Hate.
And that's super deployed, isn't it?
No Place for Hate is one of our, we have this, again, I got to say, I am running ADL like the companies I'm familiar with, And again, I'll just acknowledge that I've done a fair amount in the software space, but I also worked in CPG and in retail.
Yeah.
And so I really have these models in my mind, particularly developed when I was at Starbucks, about how we have like a distribution system. And our headquarters, we call it the CSC, which is the Community Support Center, because we're in the business of supporting communities at ADL. So we don't call our office HQ or national or something. We call it the Community Support Center because we support the Jewish community, other marginalized communities, CSC. So CSC develops the products, and then we distribute it through a network of 30 field offices. And then it goes farther out to schools and to community centers and to youth organizations and other, kind of what's on the edge of the network.
Yeah.
So, we're rolling this out now through our offices out into the school system. And we already have these products that are in distribution, like No Place for Hate. That's our flagship anti-bias education program.
Right.
It's deployed in, I don't know the number, probably millions of kids get it a year.
Yeah.
It's all over the United States. I don't know if it's in every state, but it's in most states. And it's super popular, and it teaches kids not just about anti-Semitism, about racism, misogyny, all forms of bias, and bullying. And so the goal is to build on that, to make it easier for teachers or instructors of any kind to help their kids in any situation, a classroom, a youth group, I don't know, a church community, whatever, help their kids deal with issues when they come up.
Yeah, yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, that's going to create a ton of leverage and because I'm sure they really struggle with how they teach something like.
And look, we live in a multicultural country, whether some people like it or not. This is a pluralistic, heterogeneous country, and that's strength.
Yeah, yeah.
And helping our kids, our young people understand how not just to navigate that, but to master that is fundamental to our long-term success as a country.
Yeah.
So whether the kids in the class are Jewish or Christian or Hindu or Muslim or Buddhist or atheist or Zoroastrian or however they identify religiously, let alone ethnically or whatever other kind of walk of life they hail from, I think helping our kids, helping our teachers help our kids is fundamental, because otherwise, this gets back to your earlier question about AI. Look, the classroom matters, but culture almost matters more. I think our kids have these supercomputers in their hands called iPhones, right? So they are consuming information. They have access to information in a way that we never had before. And in that environment where they're getting their news from influencers and they're getting their data from, TikTok videos, it puts a premium on the experts in their life who can help intermediate more effectively, right? Who can help explain things more effectively than the influencer they see in an Instagram reel.
Right.
And so I think it makes teachers even more important, and we have to give them the 21st century tools so they can succeed in this, or 26 years in the 21st century. So we have to give these people the tools they need, make it easy to access, make it low barriers to entry to use. Otherwise, again, the kids are going to go veer off in a different direction.
So just zooming out, even beyond, ADL, and I have complete confidence as a donor, as a friend, that you guys are going to nail that.
I hope so.
I know you will. I mean, the mission's so important. You guys lead with love, and you have really good people. I mean, whenever I've interacted with your people are really, really good.
This is our secret sauce. It's like I focus every day. I start every meeting. I start every check-in with one-on-one, let alone every meeting like staff meeting, board meeting.
Yeah.
Everything starts with people and culture.
Yeah.
People and culture.
That's where it all is. I mean,
100%.
If I think about my entrepreneurial career, it was all about manifesting love inside the organization. Love for the mission, love for each other. It's really hard to go wrong if you're doing that well.
Yep.
And, the companies I've started, I've been really fortunate to have great people. They've been rated the best places to work, and it's
awesome.
That's been the secret sauce. But that secret sauce was put in me by my mom.
Is that
at age
right?
7. Oh yeah. Yeah, she learned how to program with me.
Mm-hmm.
She then let me do that completely obsessively through my whole childhood while everybody was telling her that she was ruining me. They really did. I mean, we're talking about, Arkansas being a small place when you move there. Austin, when I was growing up, it was 170,000 people. It's the size of Anchorage, Alaska today.
Wow.
Now it's the 13th largest city in the U.S., and so people just thought, like, he's not playing football, he's not doing anything else. All he's doing is working on the computer. And the whole time I was creating software, that people used. And so she saw that and just told them he's found his passion, like, leave him alone.
What an awesome mom.
Awesome mom. But just
What's
think
her name?
about Brenda Laurel.
Wow.
Yeah. She passed away.
Sorry to hear
15 years ago now. Yeah. My dad, 18 years ago. It's weird to be, 54-year-old guy and having lost your parents for that long.
Well, not easy.
But, just zooming out, I'm curious, like, how you see this moment. Like, I'm asking you to put on the humanitarian futurist hat of, AI overall. I mean, just to set this up, there's a lot of dystopian fear out there. There's the dystopian fear about job loss. There's the human collective psyche that kind of has grafted in it these ancient stories of machines are going to kill us all. Like, in Judaism, there's a story of Gollum in Prague. Yeah. Actually has a appearance in The Secret of Secrets by Dan Brown.
Oh, really?
Brown. It's interesting. Very, very good novel. Which dives deep, as I said in the opener, on consciousness. But the modern day equivalent is like, the Matrix and the Terminator.
Yeah.
And this, machines are going to destroy us all. There was the Malt book thing that happened recently where people are like, oh my gosh, it's sentient. It's like creating its own religion. It's creating a language. The
bots talking to each other.
That we can't understand. And so I'm just curious, like, how you view this moment, because I view this moment as the most important moment in humanity's history for us to make it to the age of abundance for all. This acceleration of AI, quantum computing, robotics, brain-computer interfaces, I think will take us into unprecedented abundance. You talked about how we've had electricity for actually not that long evolutionarily.
Relatively speaking, not long at all.
Homo sapiens been around 300,000 years. It's been 0.1% of our time. And you've heard the sayings, and I'm sure you feel this. We're around the same age where people are like, you and I are in the last generation that will remember life before the internet.
Yeah.
Right? Well, now there's this generation which is being born, which will never know a world before AI. And you just kind of go back in time to our kids, the world before social media, the world before this or that. And I think that the most important thing that has to happen for humanity, and the reason I'm doing this project and self-funding it, is that I am trying to help humanity have a heart shift, because my biggest concern is not the machines, it's us. It's us and how we use them. And if you think about, since the discovery of fire, we could use it for great good or great harm, starting with our original technology. And so this technology is really, really incredible in terms of the abundance it can create. But it's one of those, with great power comes great responsibility moments.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I often think about that quote that Ben Franklin is reported to have said when asked, what happened in there. He said, we signed it. They say, you've got a republic if you can keep it. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot about the fact that sometimes I think we take for granted what we have, mm-hmm. and we just think there's some like natural law that deigns that this will all continue. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that we're hurtling towards some dystopian future, but it does mean that it's up to us. It's up to us.
Team humanity.
Yeah. Like team humanity means you kind of, we have to play our part. We have mm-hmm. to step up. President Obama was quoting MLK, and MLK was quoting somebody else.
Okay. Yep.
The arc of humanity is long, but it bends toward justice, something like that. Now, I tell you, I always believe that. But what I've come to appreciate in this job, it's not right. Mm-hmm. The arc of humanity doesn't bend toward justice. You have to go up and bend that arc. You have to go up and grab it and twist it toward the direction you want. So I do not believe that we're necessarily hurtling toward, the matrix. Mm-hmm. But I do think that it's incumbent upon us to step up the way our forefathers stepped up, the way they stepped up and created what we know as the American Revolution, mm-hmm. the way they stepped up and created what we know as the Continental Congress, the way they stepped up and after the Civil War rebuilt this country, mm-hmm. the way they stepped up and you think about the New Deal, created all these institutions that we take for granted today.
Right.
So there are so many extraordinary people in our midst. And I think Americans are born with this sort of pioneering spirit. So I think we can do this. But it's interesting, you used a phrase before that I hadn't heard previously. Like we often talk about mind shift, mm-hmm. but you used the phrase heart shift.
Heart shift.
Like that's a powerful idea. Because I do think to make this moment work, we don't just need to wrap our brains around how AI works. We need to open our hearts to understand what it means to actually be at a point where you talked about AI as flattening things. Like it's the humanity flattener too.
Right.
And what does it look like when we can get past these silly tribal ideas and see ourselves really as children, as all created in the image of God?
Yep, that's right. So we're 99.9% the same DNA-wise across this globe.
Right. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think
about how much squabbling is on 0.1%,
What a
and just
waste
all
of time.
It's a total waste of time. And we can be that beloved community all over the world. And the reason I think that the heart shift can happen and that God's working through us with this technology, because we're essentially the hands of, God, the divine, whatever someone wants to call it, is that a lot of what we squabbled about has been about scarcity. Mm-hmm. And if you took 18 seconds of the sun's energy that falls on Earth and you were able to capture that, it would power energy needs for over a year, just 18 seconds. And it's the big fusion reactor in the sky that's going to last another billion years.
A sustainable, eternal,
to plug in. And it actually is happening. If you look at solar starts, if you look at the cost, and it's going to accelerate those material science breakthroughs, like AlphaFold accelerated protein folding and therefore unlocks, all types of medicines. There's companies that have been founded, including out of Google to commercialize on that. We're going to have an alpha for everything. We're going to have an alpha for every single problem we can imagine: solving cancer, solving energy, solving food, solving. You solve energy, you can desalinate as much as you want anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
You solve energy, you can have robots that go into places like Chad, which has a GDP of $660 a person, mm-hmm. and you can build all the clean water supply they need, the healthcare they need, the power they need. We have abundance here that we can't even imagine 100 years ago, 200 years ago. I had Peter Wang on recently on episode 43, and he's leading a unicorn in Austin. And
What's his company?
It's called Anaconda. It's a really popularized Python, and really big player in the AI space. And I was making this point about 100 years ago. He's like, Brett, he's like, I moved here from Wuhan in 1984. He's like, they were rationing our coal. They were rationing our food. He's like, when I came here, he's like, you don't have to go back 100 years. He's like, you just have to go back to Wuhan in 1984.
Totally.
You know? And so
my wife tells me these stories growing up in Iran, and they were living through war, and they had food rations, you know, and so you couldn't buy what you wanted.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they had electricity all the time. So it's not that far away that we lived with. Yeah. We have an abundance today, to use that term.
Yeah.
That's just a degree of privilege.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Well, I mean, Jamie Metzl, actually, you know, he was on episode 18. You know, he's also in the Henry Crown Fellowship with us. And he made the point that actually today we already have all the abundance we need. It's just not distributed.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But cost of distribution is high.
Yeah.
And, you know, we solve energy, then cost of distribution is low, as well as the inventive capability locally around the world. So we do need to have this heart shift, and that's why this is called Love Conquers Fear, is that all of the ancient spiritual text, it all synchronizes with a common root, which is that the actual reality we're in is rooted deeply in love, and that, you know, our souls are in this place of light and love, and that we need to realize in this world of form that we can invent heaven on earth. You know, whether you look at that as mystically or metaphorically, doesn't actually matter. Like, if we could create abundance in Chad, imagine what abundance would be like here or any place else, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we can do that in the next 10 to 15 years if we have the heart shift.
The question is, what does that look like? I mean, what are the ethical systems, the ethical frameworks we need? What are kind of like the value models we need? I mean, I don't know that our society is yet kind of tooled up to deal with all that will be required in that environment.
Oh, we're not. I'm not saying that we are today. I'm just saying that we're in a time where it's going to force us to make that choice, because, you know, my thesis is that if Ray Kurzweil is right, we're going to have AGI by 2029. A lot of people now are projecting it earlier than that.
Yeah.
Once we get to AGI, we're going to get to artificial superintelligence. And it's pretty clear to me, I mean, you've been a technologist for a long time, that open source is going to win.
Yeah.
You know, when the DeepSeek moment happened with the R1 model, that was the day before Trump announced Stargate.
Is that right?
Yes. The week after, that's when NASDAQ lost $1 trillion of market cap. 600 billion of that was NVIDIA. And you just couldn't have scripted it better, you know. And that was a very, very powerful moment, because the R1 model was vastly more powerful than GPT-4, which led to the moratorium, you know, the pause all AI development. That was 4 months after the launch of ChatGPT. That was March of 2023. And so you've got this moment in time marked right before Stargate was announced, where it's like pretty obvious that, hey, these models, they're going to get commoditized pretty quickly by open source. And there'll be the frontier, and there'll be reasons people use the frontier. But the amount of money that collectively humanity is prioritizing into this build, it's unprecedented. I mean, we're multiples beyond inflation adjusted, the Manhattan Project and the space race. Multiples, like many. Like I added it up. I think in 2025 it's over $7 trillion allocated around the world. Like,
that's amazing. I mean, just think about
after the Stargate moment, and it's accelerating pretty massively. And I think it's accelerating in a large reason for hope. Like, let's create the end of disease, et cetera. Let's create abundance. It's also accelerating out of fear. It's this fear of, like, if the Chinese get AGI before us, it's all over for us. If we get it before them, you know, I don't think it works that way.
I think that is really what's propelling it. But you need the love to conquer the fear. You need
you
the
have
love to you need love to at best countervail, if not conquer the fear.
Right. And that's in, again, every spiritual text. You know, essentially, if I, read over 60 books now in the past 14 months, and a lot of them are the ancient texts, the Tao Te Ching, the Bhagavad Gita, et cetera. And where they have a similarity, again, we're 99.9% the same DNA-wise, is that we have to do the hard work individually to allow love to conquer our fear and operate from that place. And then we can help others do that work. And then collectively, humanity ascends. Like that creates heaven on earth.
Wow. So how do you do that in your individual life?
Well, for me, it's a lot of walking the spiritual path. It's a lot of practice. And just like anything, you practice more and more and you walk that path. Like one of the books that really shifted me was recommended by John Mackey, founder of Whole Foods. He was on episode 30. And
What was the book?
It's called Love is Letting Go of Fear. It's by Jerry Jampolsky. It's actually a derivative work from a book I haven't read, which is called A Course in Miracles, which is the modern day channeling of Jesus for today's society, which, Jesus was preaching, obviously, selfless, service, love for all.
Yeah.
And the neat thing about A Course in Miracles is like a really big commitment. Like John is in a study group for that, and I know a lot of people that do that. But I think they would all say it's been transformational for them. But the nice thing about Love is Letting Go of Fear, it's 2.5 hour read, and it like immediately provides you with actionable steps, and it's simple things like let's say that you are encountering someone who's just really, really a jerk. You could treat them like a jerk back. That might be the natural reaction of what to do, or you can pause, have a moment of curiosity and say, maybe their mom just died. Maybe like something really bad is going on, and treat them with love. And he gives an example of that in the book with this lawyer who is just like typical, like super hardcore, kind of trial type lawyer person. And he treated him like that. And then the next day he was at his course in the third row. He didn't even know this guy. And he didn't know that he made any difference at all. And he sees him, they lock eyes, and he comes up to him afterwards and he's like, wow, you're here. And he's like, yeah, I wanted to see what you're all about. Nobody's ever reacted to me that way. He was used to being stuck in this narrative.
Right.
And we have, the process of waking up, Awareness by Anthony DeMello was a really formative book for me on this path. Taro was the one that recommended it. He founded this company called Four Sigmatic. I highly recommend their products. There's no ads on this. This is just me, espousing it because I use it in my smoothie every morning. And out of 130 books, he recommended that as his favorite in his soul quest. And it's all about that process of waking up. And as you wake up, you learn how to deprogram and the things that don't serve you anymore and reprogram. And as you reprogram, you can really very consciously bring into your life like what you want to walk a path of love and service.
I love it.
I mean, you're walking a path of love and service. Look what you do every day.
It's funny, I guess. I don't sort of think of it like that.
I mean, I do, because ADL is like manifesting that. I mean, we just talked about all the schools and everything else.
Yeah,
and,
I guess so.
It's you and your team.
Yeah, of course.
But and all the people that follow it, like the donors, the teachers, it's all of us.
It's funny.
It
I guess sometimes
millions and millions of people.
You're in the middle of it and you don't see it.
Yeah.
Right? You live. So we're all at these levels, right? So like on a day-to-day basis, I'm worried about, like dealing with an incident that's problematic, hiring a new person for a certain role, I don't know, bringing in a key donor, issuing a new report, like the tax stuff. And you think strategically. I think about AI. I think about how I may make sure that the organization is, again, tooling up using these technologies and transforming what we do so we're getting to the next curve.
All right.
But then you're raising it even higher up, which is like think about the meta of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And, I guess sometimes you don't really have I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I always have the privilege of thinking at that level.
Yeah.
Because I'm much more focused on, I got to solve this problem and I got to make sure we're aiming in the right direction.
Well, you're in it. I mean, you're
Yeah.
the CEO and you're in it driving that. So that's the normal way to think. And that's actually a good thing because you're obsessing about the things that need to be done. But I'm in an objective position here to see what you guys are doing.
I guess.
And I'm just telling you, it's like,
It's nice.
It's such, I mean, just the cumulative impact of No Place for Hate alone is
I'm
a
very proud of it.
big deal.
Yeah, I feel so lucky. I feel tremendous pride.
Yeah.
Like the work that my people do.
Yeah.
The work that the staff does connecting with teachers, the work that the teachers do connecting with children.
Yeah.
And helping them to see the world, I think, in a healthier way and to see themselves in a healthier way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a gift.
It's beautiful, man.
It's really a gift.
I really appreciate you a lot. How do you think about this reality? I mean, I've talked about that spiritual root. Like, I know you're a very spiritual person. Like, how do you view this reality we're in? And the reason I'm asking that question is I really think this is the time of the great philosophers. Like, one of the things that people are so knee-jerk to, like, immediately assume these things are conscious.
Yeah.
We don't even know what consciousness is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, there's you put 20 of the world's top consciousness researchers in a room, like Michael Pollan's doing or Annika Harris, they will disagree with each other on what it is because
it's pretty amazing.
It's and it actually was taboo to even ask that question. Like you would have been canceled in as a professor, 10, 20 years ago. That was like nothing to see here. The hard problem of consciousness, just it popped out of the brain. It's just part of us. Don't ask that question.
Right.
And it is the most fundamental question because it is everything about our experience. Like
totally.
Like our self-awareness, the smell of a rose, closing our eyes and envisioning that beautiful moment where a child first started walking, This is everything to the human experience.
Yeah, it's what makes us unique, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the way we not just see the world, perceive the world, all the senses.
Yeah.
Right? It's what enables us to, and the reason that ties all together, like the ability to reason. It's what makes us different than the other animals or flora, as it were, or whatnot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I am spiritual in as much as I go to synagogue. Mm-hmm. And we read the Torah every week.
Yep.
And it's this ancient text that's thousands of years old.
Yep.
And I can't say with certainty that it was handed to Moses by God, if you will. It was written, right? It's the oral history. The Ten Commandments were handed to. But like the Torah is the word of God, and we think about it that way. And so, I don't think about God as, a guy in a toga with a long white beard sitting on a throne.
Right.
I don't
either, by the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that idea is outdated, or maybe it's a little childish. Mm-hmm. But I do think a great deal about the divine. Mm-hmm. And I do think that God exists in us. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're created in the image of God. And I do think it is this force. I don't think how things came together, the way they came together, I don't believe it just happened as happenstance.
Right.
Like I think it's, I think with something I call intelligent design. I mean, I think it's of an order.
Right.
And so being of an order, I mean, I think the Torah is of God. It's the word of God.
Yep.
And so I take it really seriously. And, like not every day, but multiple days a week, I'll wrap tefillin, which is what Jewish people do, or more observant Jewish people. And I do that because it grounds me.
Right.
And it forces me to pause. It's meditative. And I'll say the prayers, the prayers you put on the tefillin. And then I say the Shema prayer, which is like this very basic Jewish prayer.
Yep.
And then I have a silent reflection and think about the people around me, hoping that they'll be able to achieve their potential.
Right.
I think about the world around me and hoping that it will, again, move in a path of love. Mm-hmm. So I do that, and I think it's very clarifying.
Yeah.
And it's like a spiritual workout. Mm-hmm. It's funny, a good friend of mine said to me, in the job I have, I should say, I get a lot of flack. Like, I think I'm great, and I don't suffer from a lack of self-confidence.
Right.
But I recognize that I do get a lot of incoming, and a lot of people are unhappy with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes that is of a good faith criticism. Sometimes it's sort of bad faith kind of slander. Sometimes it's just like trolls, which is beyond bad faith. You know what I mean? There's no faith.
Right.
It's like
Of course,
nihilist.
Right.
But all that being said, I take constructive criticism. I take criticism constructively, and I listen and I process and I try to do better. But I was talking with somebody at a time, whenever it was in this job, when I was getting a lot of incoming, and the person said to me, "You should put on tefillin. It'll be like your armor." And that was really right. Like wrapping tefillin, again, girds me.
That's cool.
Because it pauses me to stop and to process, to reflect, and to like take things in and consider how I'm going to handle it. And it's very, 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 I don't know if the word is exhilarating, but it's very empowering.
Yeah. Is that the first meditative practice that you've adopted, or
no?
Did you used to meditate?
I've done TM before, and experimented with it.
Yeah.
I also find it very useful.
You should define TM.
Like transcendental meditation, which is like a practice where you develop a practice, for lack of a better word,
Right.
where you center yourself and force yourself to kind of empty your mind and empty your mind, and in doing so, take stock of where you are.
All right.
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
But like anything, it requires practice.
Yep.
And it requires practice, and it requires more practice, and it's not easy.
Yep.
And so even though you're not physically exerting yourself per se, to do it right, you are mentally and spiritually exerting yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I meditate almost daily.
You do?
It is really
At what length of
profound.
What kind of length?
I never time it. The last thing I want is like a timer going off, but it tends to be, and it always has an arc where I know that I've gone through what I was meant to go through. It's very transformational for me. It usually lasts somewhere between 30 to 50 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. And most of the time it's silent. Sometimes I had Eben Alexander on recently. He's the author of Proof of Heaven. Amazing, amazing episode. He was at our house. Talk about a guy that's just absolutely rooted in love.
I don't know this person.
He had the most transcendent near-death experience. I've now had 12 friends open up to me about that. Manoj Saxena was on episode 42, and at the end shared, I've known him for 20 years, at the end shared his near-death experience, and that's where someone literally glimpses beyond the veil, and they synchronize quite a bit. But Eben Alexander wrote the most popular book on that, and we had amazing meditations together, but he created an app called Sacred Acoustics, which is binaural sounds, and I sometimes will use that too, and those have been really helpful too. There's a book I profiled on the podcast a while back called Why Buddhism is True. It's a guy who really is just completely talking about natural selection and the way our brains evolved and trying to explain everything that way. But it ends with a spiritual tone because he says, look, I don't know what consciousness is. Nobody does. He said, but let's be thankful that whatever the Buddhists were encouraging us to do, that when you glimpse, the unification of all, and that it's deeply rooted in love through meditation, that is the actual reality versus what if it was like dark and scary in there? And, you did it and it's like, oh my gosh, like I should never do that again.
Right.
So he was making the case of if more people practiced what the Buddhists were preaching in terms of really meditating, then you would have a much happier, society that's much more loving. And we ended last year as a family going to Bhutan.
Oh, really?
And Bhutan measures themselves on gross national happiness.
I don't know that, yeah.
It's deeply meditative country. Their entire GDP, you worked at Starbucks, you'll get a kick out of this, is 3 weeks of our coffee budget in America. And it really does feel like one of the happiest places I've ever been.
That's
It's
amazing.
deep, deep inner contentment. And, this part of my thesis of what happens when we hit abundance is that we're going to go back to a more communal way of living, where we're not just dealing with such scarcity and such the grind of just constantly, people trying to make ends meet. Once we truly have abundance on earth, then it's going to be a lot more about love and deep connection with each
I
other.
think that's awesome. I think one of the success of Israel as a country is it's founded on the kibbutz system.
Yeah.
This model
It's a
of
great example.
communal living.
Yep.
And Israel, despite all the threats that it faces, deep threats, exogenous threats, endogenous threats, like real challenges, like it's one of the happiest places in the world.
It is.
And I think it's
A lot of
because
people don't know that because they haven't been there, but I've
people have this
been there
crazy
multiple
view of
times,
it.
and I very much believe that. Yeah,
talk
I've
to
seen it.
ordinary Israelis and they feel lucky.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Americans necessarily feel lucky. I love this country,
Yep.
and I'm deeply patriotic, and I feel proud to have been, I did public service because I believe in this country so deeply.
Yeah. Of course I do too.
But I think people I don't know that people feel fortunate. I think we won the lottery by being born here in this time, in this place, in this age. I don't know if everybody shares that feeling.
Yeah.
And look, I think there's lots of challenges. We have lots of challenges, don't get me wrong. And again, you're born in the wrong zip code. It can dictate your life in many ways.
Yeah.
And yet, we live with such already a degree of abundance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, we started this conversation before we got online talking about electricity, right?
Yep.
We live with so much grace.
Yeah.
And I don't know that everybody always has a deep appreciation for it.
Well, we're programmed differently. This is the walk in the spiritual path. Like, if you grow up in Bhutan, you're programmed a certain way. You're programmed more for learning how to meditate young, having a deep communal connection. Here, and I'm a capitalist. I've been a successful entrepreneur like you. You're programmed that this is the country where we lifted ourselves up by our bootstraps, where we defeated the biggest empire. It is number one GDP. It's the inventive capability coming out of this country is off the charts, incredible. But you're also programmed to constantly be in the cycle of more and more and more. And that comes through the ads being pushed to us. You're also being programmed to think that it's kind of dystopian because, social media is it's hijacking our basest instincts.
I agree with that.
Our
Totally.
fear-based instincts. And frankly, the media too. I'm a big fan of the free press. It's a foundational principle for democracy. But the way that algorithms are programmed, it's constantly pushing us into this fear state, in Bhutan, as a comparison, they have a natural immunity to that. They can be more like Neo in the Matrix because they have that deep inner contentment. And they know that hey, the path to happiness, and this comes from all spiritual traditions too, whether it's Judaism, whether it's Christianity, et cetera, that the path to happiness only comes from the inside.
Yeah.
There's no amount of material items you can accumulate that's going to make you happy.
I think about this with my kids all the time.
Yeah.
I think about the kids all the time, don't look for external validation. You got to find your internal validation.
Yeah.
How you dress or the likes a video gets on Instagram.
Yeah.
These are very, very, very weak ways to kind of, measure your own self-worth.
Right.
And although, again, there may be a sugar high you get from a like or something on Instagram. Just
You
as
get
an
a sugar
example.
crash though.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And it doesn't last very long.
The crash is worse than the high.
Right.
Because ultimately it's empty, and that illusion of the high, right? You fail to realize the gap, the vacuum that's there.
Yeah. Well, I know you're waking up early in the morning, having a flight, so I don't want to keep you too long. But any closing words? What's your greatest hope for humanity here?
My greatest hope for humanity is that, again, love conquers fear, and I hope love conquers hate.
Yeah.
My greatest wish is that we find ways to really love each other, irrespective of how we pray or where we're from, how we vote. Like, I think ultimately I yearn for a time and a moment when we as Americans and we as humans come together and just appreciate each other for who we are, not what we are, right? And it's kind of where you mentioned King before. It's like really judging people for the content of their character, not the color of their skin, or again, the place where they pray, or, whatever these markers are. I mean, we're in this 21st century. We need to like just shed these 20th and 19th and 18th century markers that we use to like, demarcate who we are. I think they are, ultimately not very lasting or meaningful.
Yeah, that's so well said. And, one of the things I'll say that I absolutely love about America, to contrast it to a place like Bhutan, and there's many things, but just one in particular that I'll mention is the diversity of our food here, the diversity of our literature, the diversity of our music. All of that is because of all these people from all these cultures coming together to live a collective dream. And that is very American, and that's the best of America, really.
I totally agree. Like, I think there's a blend we can have of, there's an interesting blend to achieve where, number one, we embrace diversity and value it for what it is and what it represents, right? Like, again, my kids are richer because they have my kind of Ashkenazi American identity and my wife's kind of, Persian, Middle Eastern identity. So I think the diversity is so enriching and beneficial. Secondly, that we can live in a more communal way. And whether your community is a Jewish community or some other kind of structure, like, I think community gives us meaning in so many ways. So I'm not suggesting we like denude ourselves of that or extract from that. Like, I think community is so valuable.
Totally.
But so we appreciate diversity, we live in community, right? And then we find ways to come together.
Right.
Like, I don't think that's so hard. So I'm very family oriented, and I think it's a blessing, you know? And I hope that as we move forward, we can find this blend of appreciating diversity, not being afraid of it, not running away from it, but embracing diversity, of living communally, again, whatever your kind of organizing structure is, and then coming together on the other stuff, all of us, in a way that doesn't require you to like assimilate and flatten who you are or lose your core values. No, like the kind of, again, the unit of organizing, whether it's your family or your kind of community, your congregation, whatever, can be a powerful way to come together with others. So that's what I would hope for in the long run.
I love it. I love it. Well, you're a good role model for me, for others, and just a beautiful human being.
You're very kind to say that. I think you're a very role model. I mean, having had the success you've had, to chose to go this route.
Thank you.
And there are other people who have these successes, then choose to like build a yacht, or then who choose to like get a plane, and then who choose just to like sort of self-edify through acquisition of material things. I just so appreciate your exploration of like the spiritual.
Well, thanks.
I think is going to be incredibly, not just like, healthy for you and your family, although I'm sure it is that, but as you write your book and as your podcast gets more and more traction, it's like it awakens things in so many people. And like, what a gift that is.
Well, thank you. I'll tell you just one quick story. I went to India to study Vedanta over a decade ago, and Swamiji Parthasarathi is telling the story. He's the leader that I studied under, although he would not call himself a leader. He would actually not want to be called a leader. The place I studied is called the Vedanta Academy. His name is not on it. Deeply rooted in humility. He's in his 90s now. But one of the things that he told as a story is he said in India there's like massive wealth and then massive poverty. And he's standing on this yacht. And it's one of the wealthiest guys in India. And he's like, congratulations, I hope you're really enjoying this. And the guy looks across the bay and he's like, you see that one? That's next. That was all he could do. He couldn't even be happy on his own yacht. It's just, there is no end. Yacht. There is no end. And that's again, the amount of programming deprogramming that's required, because
100%.
there's no end. There's no end. There's always someone wealthier, smarter, better looking. Pick whatever metric. That comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah. So that's why I think like help people to find their own path.
Yeah.
And find a different way to, again, like value what you have, and to see the value is very, very powerful, Brett. It's a gift.
Well,
so
thanks,
thank you for doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, thanks, brother.
Oh,
yeah. Love
awesome.
you, man. Thank you
too.
so much.
Thank you.
So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in to Love Conquers Fear. Stay tuned. One more amazing person that I'm meeting with in New York City that is also in the Henry Crown Fellowship. He's created one of the most successful businesses in the world. Thank you again for all the love you're giving. I get many messages now per day of people that are having the heart shift and are tuning in to read books and really share this with others. And as I said, I'm self-funding this. There's no ads. I love Four Sigmatic, but they're not paying me anything. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for all the love you're giving.